guys, this is another tutorial. Last time we discussed drawing short fur, this time we're going to be drawing long fur. The process is a little bit different, so I hope you guys stick with me through this tutorial, and if you haven't seen the last one, I recommend going back and watching it, but it's not mandatory. Anyway, let's begin. So let's add a new layer, and take our streak brush once again, our very useful tool. Go for your darkest shade of whatever color you're using. In this case, I'm going to be using blue. Now, in the short fur tutorial, you kind of just blocked out where everything was. In the long fur tutorial, you're going to be needing to create different tufts of fur. So start taking your dark blue, or whatever color you're using, to draw in all those tufts of fur. You're going to color each one individually. So you just draw that in. I'm only going to be doing this side for now for the sake of time, because my camera has a time limit. Sorry guys. Anyways, then you take your next shade. You kind of go along the same process you did in the first video. You fill in the space, but not reaching the outside of each piece. So you just fill it in there. You might want to go back and add a bit more of that first shade if you don't have enough. You can always go back over it after. You can always add more. Usually I'd spend a little more time on this trying to make sure everything adds up nicely, but for the sake of time, I'm going to quickly draw it in. And in case you want to keep track of what colors I'm using, I'll put them on the side here like I did in the last tutorial. So you take your lighter blue, next one up you don't have to have certain shades of blue. You just have to have whatever works for you, whatever you have in your swatches. Maybe if you don't use swatches, just find a color that you think would work. And you just fill that in there. You just fill it in, but not all the way. It's okay to go outside the lines a bit. After all, it's fur, and fur doesn't fall within perfect set lines naturally. So just fill in whatever you want there. Then you can take your next blue. Once again, you take your streak brush. The streak brush is very important. And you just fill it in with the already existing tufts of fur that you've just drawn. And you just keep doing that. Doesn't have to be pretty at this point. If it is, that's great. But you're just trying to fill in the basics. Longer fur can look much looser as well, so you don't have to worry. Now I did that on the wrong layer, but I'm not really going to worry about that right now, because I can always merge the two layers afterwards. You take your next color, you take your streak brush. Once again, you repeat the process of adding more towards the inside each time. If it doesn't turn out how you wanted it to look the first time, practice always works well. I'm not even that used to drawing long fur, so this by all means isn't an area I'm really used to. This isn't one of my strong subjects. Once again, you take your lighter color, you add it in. You can kind of pay attention to the way the light would be falling on it. Right here, I think my light is kind of more towards the right side, so that's where I'm adding most of my light. Some people might have to experiment a lot with the lighting. Some people it just comes naturally. I know I had a lot of difficulty with it back when I was just beginning. So if it takes you a while to figure out what you're doing with the lighting, that's perfectly okay. Now you take a lighter color still, and once again, you repeat the same process. This time you have much less space that you need to fill in. And you just keep going with the streak brush. Keep adding the light. Just keep filling those spaces. It's around about this time that I'd suggest taking your blur brush, just lightly going over it, especially on the edges. You don't want to blur a lot of your inside work together, but blurring the edges a bit will kind of make it pop a little. And if you want, you can take yet another color and you just dust it in on the edges, just throw a bit in there lightly. If you're using a tablet, I'd suggest not applying a lot of pressure with it. Just filling that in. And there you go. This is a tutorial on how to draw long fur, specifically long tufts of fur. You can always go in and erase any stray lines that you didn't end up using. Or blurring it at the edges. And there we go. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, guys. Thank you!